Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the online class for the students of honors fourth year of Dhaka Mohanagar Mohila College. I hope all of you are hale and hearty by the grace of Almighty. Here with you in this course, I am Shabnam lecturer in English at Dhaka Mohanagar Mohila College. This course, today I am going to present you a short historical summary or historical context of Oroonoko and a short summary of Oroonoko so that you can perceive the novel in a short moment or in a short time. So let's visit the historical context of Oroonoko. As we know, Oroonoko was written by Afraban. So, as a young woman, Afraban was a spy for Charles II's government in Antwerp and probably in South America too. 2 decades later, she used these experiences to write Oroonoko, the story of a prince who was kidnapped from West Africa and then enslaved and then taken to a British colony in South America. Janet Todd explains how this extraordinary novella was shaped by the historical and political context and beliefs of Ben's time. Afraban's traffic novella Oroonoko was published in 1688, shortly before her death. It was admired in its own time, but its grotesque violence did not suit 18th century tastes, and the story was quickly reworked into a romantic play and a sentimental anti-slavery tale. In the 20th century, it became Ben's most famous work, seen as a powerful original story of slavery, a true history with shifting points of view and startling episodes from both real life and heroic romance. Today, it can still startle readers with its equivocal treatment of gender, race, and class. At the end of a remarkable playwright career, when revenue from the theatre diminished, Afraban turned to prose writing. In this new genre, she used her experiences from the 1660s when she had been a young spy for Charles II's government in Antwerp and probably also in Suriname and South Africa, the colonial setting of Oroonoko. The main European characters mentioned in the story are historical figures like the deputy governor William Byam, made into the villain, then James Bannister, the cultured Cornishman, John Treffry, the ex-parliamentarian George Martin. The artifacts that travel from Suriname to England underlined the authenticity of the story. The dried butterflies and the snake skins that may be seen at the Majestic's and antiquary, as well a Native American set of feathers later used in the Restoration Theatre. The Suriname in Oroonoko is a British colony, soon to fall to the Dutch. Far from central royal authority in London, it is disordered and mismanaged. As land, it is both adapted to European eyes. Its strange animals are compared to English ones and mythical. And Arcadia, where it is constant summer. At the center of the story is a princely black hero kidnapped from the West Africa, enslaved and taken to Suriname. There he meets again his beloved, the beautiful Moinda. After being treated in a manner that is markedly different to other slaves, he is tricked into a gruesome death by the dishonorable governors. The narrator of the story would like to save him, but she is absent at crucial moments, while as a woman and onlooker she can do little except tell her tale to the world. Throughout the story, she claims to be his friend and companion, but there is troubling sense that she is also to some extent his keeper. To the narrator, Oroonoko tells of his life in Africa. These accounts forms part of the story. The depiction of Sub-Sahara Africa is the first by an English creative writer, yet where her description of the society of Suriname has the ring of eyewitness truth. Unlike Treffry and Byam, the character of Oroonoko is an imaginary fusion, not an historical figure. Although the physical beauty of the gloomy race was rarely stressed by European writers, blackness could be represented as a glamorous concept. Oroonoko has extreme blackness. His face was not of that brown rusty black which most of the nation are, but a perfect ebony or polished jet. as well as a Roman nose and straightened hair. His African heritage is combined with European ideas of masculine beauty and nobility. He even has a French education, which gives him the skepticism with which to judge other cultures, both Christians and Native American, but he also has a natural honesty and gulliness that the narrator perceives as distinguishing him both from the Africans he has left behind and from the corrupt colonists of Suriname. Like other heroes in 17th century plays and romances, he speaks with the rhetoric of accent of Roman nobility and has the ability and courtliness of the best London society. Although supposedly a slave, he never works, and he recalls the 17th century notion of untamed noble savage. His royal status is accepted by the other enslaved Africans, many of whom he himself has sold into slavery, and he lives among the white colonists in a strange captivity, which includes polite visits, hunts, and expeditions. If his daring feast connect him with his heroes and popular romance from another angle, their encouragement might appear a method of keeping dangerous men under control. Political context. Throughout her life, Afra Ben was a political writer steeped in the controversies and day-to-day politics of her age. Her works are royalist, fiercely supporting the regimes of Charles II and his Catholic brother and heir James. To the latter, in particular, she was devoted. He had greatly appreciated her most popular play, The Rover, and she had dedicated a sequel, the second part of The Rover, to him. After he became King James II in 1685, she worked tirelessly for him as a propagandist in a series of public poems and less overtly in her fictions. As an inflexible ruler and a Catholic in a primarily Protestant country, James was soon tottering on his throne, and many of his subjects were looking to his Dutch nephew and son-in-law William of Orange to rescue the country. Matters come to a head in 1688 when the queen became pregnant, thus potentially ensuring a Catholic succession. Oroonoko was probably written after the announcement of the pregnancy, when rumors were rife that William had been invited by many nobles to invade England. It was printed just after the birth, which went celebrated in a long poem. It would be hard for any contemporary reader not to associate the fictional family group of Oroonoko, Imoinda, an unborn child, with the threatened royal family of James II. There is much to link Oroonoko with the King James. So both were called Caesar, and the dark-complexioned staters were referred to as black. Both believe in the oath and word of the honor. Suriname, where Oroonoko is killed, was like England, threatened by the Dutch. There was no precedent for royal deposition without death. James' father, Charles I, had been executed. Oroonoko is defeated by the cruelty of his opponents and by his own native, and the dread at the end of the story when presents frightful spectacles of a king. Perhaps her work was a warning to James, or a depiction of what she feared would come about. In Ben's understanding, James II is a simple and heroic personality, was out of the kilter with the debased, modern, and complex world of England, as Oroonoko's was in debased Suriname. In fact, shortly after Oroonoko was published, James II fled to France. He was deposed without much immediate strife, and the Dutch William became the king. Now I would like to present the story in brief. Oroonoko is the prince of an African country, which is now Ghana. He is the only heir and grandson of the king Koromantian. He is a great war hero who gets made general after the first general court's death to save the life of Oroonoko. Oroonoko meets the old general's daughter Imoinda, who is the most beautiful girl to have ever lived. Oroonoko is also very attractive and handsome. They fall in love with each other and get married secretly, but it has not yet been consummated. According to the custom, they should have asked for the permission of his grandfather, the king. The old king, who is over 100 years of age, hears about Imoinda's beauty and views her secretly, and instantly falls in love with her. He gives Imoinda the sacred veil, which compels her to become one of his wives or concubines. Imoinda is taken to the Otan. When the king hears that she is already married, he instantly gets jealous. But he graciously tells her that if she relinquishes her marriage, he won't kill her husband. Being selfless, Imoinda agrees. To protect Oroonoko, Imoinda pretends to be over him, and to get back into the king's good graces, she pretends that he is over her. When the king is ensured that Oroonoko has forgotten Imoinda, he invites Oroonoko and Abuan to his palace. Abuan flirts with Onahal, the king's senior wife. With the help of Onahal, Oroonoko manages to meet his beloved. Oroonoko sneaks into Imoinda's chamber in the royal castle and they consummate their love. They are caught and Imoinda is sold into slavery, but Oroonoko is told that she has been killed. Oroonoko becomes depressed. He decides not to fight against the enemies. Then, when his troops are starting to lose, he becomes ready for the battle. He fights very bravely and takes many lives and wins the battle. Oroonoko captures Jamuan. Oroonoko does not treat him like a prisoner and does not sell him into slavery like the other captives. As soon as Oroonoko returns from his last conquest and is received at court with all the joy and magnificence, there arrives in the port of Coromanthian an English ship. Oroonoko recognizes the captain because he has sold him many slaves before. He invites him to his home, and the captain entertains him with globes and maps. Being pleased with the good treatment of Oroonoko, the captain tells the prince to honor his vessel with his presence some day or the other at dinner before he should set sail. To the prince gathers up 100 to his closest friends and they go to the slave trader's boat. The captain entertains Oroonoko and his companions with all sorts of fine wines in which they overindulge. They are on the boat for about 10 minutes when the crew ties up everyone with intentions to sell them as slaves. The ship sets sail to Suriname. When they arrive, Oroonoko is sold to a man named Treffry, who happens to be one of the kinder English gentlemen in Suriname. He renames Oroonoko as Caesar. Oroonoko and Imoinda meet by chance on the same plantation. They reunite and soon Imoinda, now her new name was Clemeny, becomes pregnant. After they reunite, Clemeny or Imoinda, who was now named as Clemeny, becomes pregnant. Upon her pregnancy, Oroonoko petitions for their return to the homeland, but after being continuously ignored, he organizes a slave revolt. The slaves are hunted down by the military forces and compelled to surrender on Deputy Governor Byam's promise of amnesty. Yet, when the slaves surrender, Oroonoko and the others are punished and whipped in a most deplorable and inhuman manner. Oroonoko is almost fainting with the loss of blood from 1,000 of wounds all over his body. They tear off his clothes and leave him bleeding. To complete their cruelty, they rub his wounds with Indian paper, which makes him raging mad. To avenge his honor and to express his natural oath, Oroonoko decides to kill Byam, but to protect Imoinda from violation and subjugation after his death, he decides to kill her first. The two lovers discuss the plan, and with a smile on her face, Imoinda willingly dies at his hand. But after killing Imoinda, Oroonoko cannot take his revenge on Byam. He is again caught by the white man. Bannister, one of Byam's allies, forcibly takes him to the same post where he was whipped. Bannister tells him he will die like a dog. When Oroonoko realizes he is about to die, he asks for a pipe of tobacco. First, the executioner, that is Bannister, cuts off his genitals and throws them into the fire. Then the others cut off his ears and his nose and throw them likewise into the fire. All the while he continues to smoke his pipe. Even when they cut off one of his arms, after they cut off his second arm, his head snake, his pipe drops, and he dies. They finally cut Oroonoko's body into quarters and send them to several of the chief plantations so that none of the slave dare to make or protest, to make any revolt or to protest for anything. So this is the end of the videos, and you can say the short summary of Oroonoko. We will come more with Oroonoko and other things like the characters or what the Oroonoko, the analysis of the story, what we get from this novel in my next videos. Till then, stay safe, stay home, and be safe. Thank you.